Hey, this is Antonio, and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I want to talk about the press conference between Tyron Woodley and Jake Paul today that took place. It was pretty sold out, surprisingly, and it looked pretty good. Listen, I'm actually more intrigued about this fight than I am for Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul. The main reason I am because of the credibility of Tyron Woodley. Yes, Jake Paul fought Ben Askren. However, Ben Askren had hip surgery and had just been sitting on the couch for a year after hip surgery. And two, he's not known for his striking or anything like that. Three, he had been out of the game for 2 years prior to the hip surgery, a year in. So he was in no shape whatsoever to fight. And I mean, he looked like it. But that's a sidebar. This fight, however, has Tyron Woodley, who is fresh. He actually competed a few months ago. So he's still fresh. He's still in fight shape for the most part. I mean, granted, he's going to get into a camp and get in even better shape, but he's still in fight shape from the last fight. So that's a good thing. And it gave me a visual. I saw them side by side, face to face for the first time. And Tyron is the biggest guy that Jake is going to fight, has fought thus far. So it's interesting. This is one thing when you fight somebody, but somebody might be taller than you. It can give you a little bit of, it's a little weird. Somebody could be a little thicker or whatever, distance and things like that. But it's interesting to see the sizes between the two. Jake is a little bit taller, but I think a little of that was hair as well. But Tyron's much more muscular, just a lot bigger. So they're just a lot even in size. So this is going to be good to see. Not only that, like I said, the credibility of the fighter. Tyron Woodley is known for his hands. Tyron Woodley does knock people out cold, and I mean put them to sleep. So this will be interesting to watch. Like I said, Ben Askren, never known for his hands, not one bit. And then prior to that, he fought another YouTuber or something like that. Now you're dealing with somebody who is considered a striker. Who's considered, I'm not saying he's an elite striker. I'm not saying that. But I am saying he's somebody who's known to stand up and fight and slug it out, bang it out. He is known to do that. He is known to nullify other fighters who are considered strikers. So now that's what you're dealing with. One more thing about Tyron Woodley is he does his homework. He won't just make a fight camp. He will study his opponent. He will figure out what his opponent does, and he will bring in the right person to his training camp to get him to the place where he needs to be so he's confident when he steps into that ring. He's done it with all his fights in MMA, and I don't see any reason why he wouldn't do it over here. Yes, he has been fighting all his life. However, he has not been boxing all his life. So if I know anything about Tyron Woodley, I know he's going to do his homework. Another little intriguing thing about this fight would be that Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren were college roommates. So they're buddies. They've known each other for years. That's another thing that's going to be intriguing about this fight. That maybe he can get some get back for his friend. He saw his friend get knocked out, and I just know kind of the guy, the way he is, it's not going to sit well with him. So he's not just doing it for himself. He's not just doing it for the check. He's doing it for the home team. He's doing it for his homeboy, getting some get back and getting some revenge. So like I said, this is going to be really interesting. Another thing that happened actually earlier in a separate press conference was Floyd Mayweather said that he wanted to train Tyron Woodley. He actually made a statement and said, yes, I want to train him. Tell him to come to my gym and let me train him. So on top of the fact that, Tyron's making reportedly the biggest purse that he's ever made, and now he's boxing as opposed to MMA, he could quite possibly be getting trained by Floyd Mayweather, which is pretty crazy on top of that. So that's going to add even more intrigue. That's going to add even more of a storyline. And honestly, I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want to talk some trash, you got Floyd Mayweather, you got Tyron Woodley, you have Jake Paul. Like, those press conferences, if, Tyron takes Floyd up on the offer, which I don't think he's a stranger to Floyd. I do believe they have a relationship. I have seen Tyron Woodley at the Mayweather Boxing Club a few times. So I don't think he's a stranger to Floyd Mayweather. So I think that would be pretty interesting. But those press conferences are going to be epic. Floyd is no stranger to just talking trash, even as a promoter. He's done it a ton of times with Tank. Because, Tank doesn't talk that much. He's too busy knocking people out, so he doesn't necessarily have to talk. But that's just Floyd. He's going to sell the fight. Whatever the fight is, he believes it can do more, so he's going to sell that fight. And if that means talking a little trash, he is game for it. And I think if he can get a few dollars out of this Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul thing, he's cool with that as well. Floyd is still going with the narrative as well that, he's mad about the cap and, Jake Paul untying the shoe. So what more could he do? Well, I'm not going to fight him, but what I could do is I could train the guy who's going to fight him. And once again, Floyd being the man that he is, I'm just making myself relevant. I'm going to stick myself in this fight as well. But Tyron Woodley, listen, I'm not going to lie. This has got me intrigued. This has got me pumped up. And I'm excited for this fight. I'm not going to lie. I will definitely watch this fight because it is interesting. This is the biggest step that Jake Paul has ever taken. And listen, again, people like to knock the Paul brothers, but first and foremost, you got to give that dude credit. He's taking on a dude who is proven. He's taking on a guy who is a 5-time champion in the UFC. He's taking on a guy who's knocked a lot of people out with one punch. So you can say whatever you want about the Paul brothers. You can say they're goofy, they're crazy, they're corny, whatever you want to say, messing up boxing, whatever you want to say. But they're willing to get in there with tougher opposition. And for that, you got to do nothing but give them respect. Nothing but give them respect. So I'm game for this fight. I'm game for Tyron Woodley. I do believe this will be Jake Paul's first loss. Absolutely. No questions asked. No questions asked. Tyron Woodley has only been knocked out once in all of his MMA career by Nate Marquardt, if I'm not mistaken. But outside of that, he's taken some... Listen, as somebody who's trained in Taekwondo and karate, getting punched in the face is one thing. Getting a shin to the face is something else. He's gotten shins to the face, and he stayed standing. That's saying something about his fortitude. That's saying something about him wanting to be in the fight and him wanting to win. So, do I think that Jake Paul can get ready for a Tyron Woodley fight? He can train for it, but will he be ready for it? No, I don't believe he'll be ready for it. Do I believe Tyron Woodley will be ready? Absolutely. He's trained for strikers before. It's just now he has the privilege of only training in one particular sport, boxing. Not boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling, but just boxing. He can focus all his time on just boxing. And if he takes Floyd up on the offer, which I hope he does, because again, that just makes this even bigger, it can get real interesting. Really, really interesting. And one more thing I want to say about Tyron Woodley, because, I think I've did enough videos about Jake Paul. Maybe I'll do another one separate for him. But he's also very fast. He's a very, very fast striker. He's not slow. I know when you see him, you see a lot of muscle, and you think naturally that he's a slow fighter. He's not slow. He's very fast. He covers distance really fast. He strikes really fast. He's a really fast fighter. So don't be fooled by how big his arms are and how big his back is or anything like that. He's very fast. So on top of the power, he has speed. On top of that power, he knows how to cover distance. And on top of all that, he knows how to do his homework on fighters. So say what you want. I am very intrigued about this fight, and I will more than likely be making another video on it. But you tell me what you think down below, and as always, please like and subscribe.